Okay, so this is 6-8% of change. The way this is worded gets a little bit difficult. Another way to look at it is is when they say new amount minus the original amount, what we're really looking for is the difference. Okay, I'm looking for the difference. This is a difference over the original amount. So here's an example of a percent increase or decrease. What is the original number? What's the first number you see? From 5 to 7, what's the first number you see? Yes. 5. So that always becomes your first number, the first number you see. Okay? The difference, it's always the difference over the original amount. So the difference is from 5 to 7, 7 minus 5. Okay, so see how they're saying the new amount is 7 minus the 5. That's the difference over the original amount, which was 5. What does that simplify to? What does that simplify to? 7 minus 5 is 2 over 5. Now I'm going to write this. Percent of change. That triangle, that delta symbol, means change. It's just the shortened version so we don't have to write the word. So now I have 2/5. Now, convert that to a decimal. How do I convert that to a decimal? You divide. Top dog goes into the dog house. Add a decimal, and it goes 0. And now I'm in decimal form. I need to find the percent. Convert that to a percent. What? So I move the decimal 2 times, once, twice. I multiply by 100, and then what I get is 40%. Now, the one thing we're missing is going from 5 to 7. Is that increasing or decreasing? What? It's a percent increase. Common sense can tell you that. It's a 40% increase. Okay. What does the triangle mean? Change. Okay, so don't let it scare you. Don't let these words worry you. Okay? And so when they say new amount and original amount, these are the amounts you're talking about. We're starting here. There's the original amount. This is the new amount. Okay? But it doesn't matter. Don't worry about the negative or positives here, because I think you can tell. Is this a percent increase or decrease when it's going from 5 to 7? It's moving up, so it's an increase. Okay? In this case, is this an increase or a decrease? Increase. And here? Decrease. That's it. So when I'm doing this, what do I put in the numerator? What do I put in the numerator? Angela? 10. Okay.
Or 10 minus, or 15 minus 10.
15 minus 10.
Over 10.
Right? Good. So we're doing 15. You know what? I'm going to write it out here. So you know we're doing 15 minus 10 over what was the original amount? 10. It's the first number that's written. And so what does that simplify to?
1/2.
5 over 10, which reduces to 1 over 2. And what percent is that? Do we know? 50%. It's 0 and 5/10, which equals 50%. Is that an increase or a decrease? Increase. Good. Okay, next one. I'm doing the percent of change equals the change over the original amount. So the percent of change equals what? Jared? 12 to 9. We could do one of two things. The new amount, 9 minus 12, or just the only thing that's going to do if you do the new amount minus the original amount is it's going to give you a negative number. And when it's a negative number, your overall answer just means not that it's a negative percent, but it's dropping. So it's what kind of percent change? Increase or decrease? Decrease. So if we do 9 minus 12, it's going down. What did I say? Okay. Okay. So if we do, sorry. Shh. So, but in this case, over the original amount, what is it? 12. The original amount was 12. Sorry. So now 9 minus 12 is what? What? Negative 3 over 12. This reduces to negative 1/4. So the percent change, I know that percent by heart. Okay, so what does that mean, negative 25%? What? It just means a decrease. It's okay. Do you understand, Jerry? Okay, now you try 3 and 4. All right, so now we have 120 to 200. We found that it's a percent increase. And so now we have to take our new amount subtracted by the original amount, or just find a difference. It doesn't matter. 200 minus 120 over the original amount, which is 120, the first number listed. So then we are doing 80 over 120. Right away, what can I divide numerator and denominator by? Yes. No, smaller, that I can just one quick slash. Watch. What did I divide top and bottom by? 10. So that's really 8 over 12. It makes it an easier number to manage. Now, I can further divide that and see if I recognize the fraction, or I can just divide right away. I can divide 4 into that, and I'm left with 2, and 4 into that, and I'm left with 3. Do we know that percent?
Yeah.
You should have that one memorized. Yes.
It's 66%.
And 2/3. It's a repeating decimal. That's 0.6 repeated, so it's 66 and 2/3%. If you didn't know it, you would do top dog into the dog. Top dog goes in the dog house, and you will see 3 goes into 2 0 times, into 20. It goes 6 times, 18. I have a repeat. Bring it down. It goes. I take it out 3 places, so that becomes 0.666. Move it once, twice. It becomes 66 and 2/3%. We don't write it as a repeating decimal. We write it as a fraction. Amanda.
I have a question. How did you get the 2/3? Like, what is that?
Okay, I divided first by 10. Then I divided 8 by 4 and I got 2, and 12 by 4 and I got 3.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm converting that into a decimal. Take the top dog, put it in the dog house, and then divide by the denominator. And so I got 6666, and I'm noticing the pattern. So as I bring it out, I can write it as 66 and 6/9. Remember, any repeated number goes over 9. But I've got this memorized because this is one that you should have memorized. 1 over 3 is 33 1/3%. 2 over 3 is 66 and 2/3. It should be, those two should be memorized. Does that make sense, Amanda?
Kind of. Why do you have to write the fraction next to it?
I just reduced it. I could have done this. I could have, let me erase all this other stuff. I could have done this, where it was just 80 over, right? Isn't that what that becomes, over 120?
Yeah.
And then divide this. But that's a big number to divide. I made it simpler for myself. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get that part.
I just made it simpler. You don't have to make it simpler. You don't have to reduce the fraction and then divide. But I did. Have I clarified what you're thinking about?
Yeah.
Okay. So, you could have divided it at 8/12 right away. You could have instead done this. 12 goes into 8. That's another way to make it simpler for yourself. But I went one step further and divided by 4, too. 10 and 4. Does that make sense? Okay. So next one we are doing is 80 to 50. So let's start doing some of this in our head. Okay? Is this an increase or a decrease?
Decrease.
Okay, so we are going from 80 to 50. What will the change be? What's this fraction going to be? Anybody? Nishat. What's the numerator going to be?
80.
From 80 to 50?
Oh, wait, no. The way denominator
Yeah, when I eventually have it, what?
is 30 over 80 and then
30 over 80, perfect. Now, I can, or we could say negative 30 over 80, but negative 30 over 80 just means it's a decrease. So right away, for it to be easier for me, I get rid of those zeros, and instead of doing the dividing with 30 and 80, I'm going to divide numerator and denominator by 10. Look at this. And I'm left with 3/8. So now what I have is top dog goes into the doghouse, the 3. Take it out 3 places always, just in case I need it. 8 does not go into 3, but it goes into 30 3 times. 8 goes into 60 7 times. 8 goes 5 times. And so the percent of change is 0 and 375. Convert that to a percent. What is it? So the percent change is 37 and 5/10, or 1/2%. Increase or decrease?
decrease.
Okay. You guys got that? Phew! Excuse me. Just trying to get away. Okay, now, here's where we're going to see these. We're going to see word problems. We're going to see word problems. A house was purchased for $720,000. A year later, it's valued at $800,000. What was the percent increase in value? So, what am I going to do in my numerator? Yes.
720 minus, no, 800 minus 720. 800,000 minus 720,000.
Perfect. And that equals?
That would equal 9,000.
No, 9 and 2 is not.
8,000.
8,000 over the original amount, which is? 720,000. Good. So it's 880,000. Oh, what happened there? Oh yeah, no, it's 80,000 over 720,000. Boy, I'm getting tongue twisted. Okay, do you see how you have these big numbers, Amanda?
Yeah.
How can we make it easier for ourselves now? How about you, Jared?
You could just cut it all the zero.
Right, equal amounts. So really that's like dividing it by how much?
By 8 divided by
when you knock out those zeros, those 3 zeros, that's really dividing the
Divide by 7.
100.
by. Does hundreds have 2 zeros?
No.
Nishant?
Yeah.
100 has 3
Oh wait, no, 1,000.
by thousands. I'm dividing it by 1,000. When I do this, I'm just dividing it by 1,000. Oh, well here, let's do this. Watch this. I'm going to do it by 4 zeros. I can do more than 3. 4 zeros is dividing the top 10s at once. That's 100. That's 1,000 by 10,000. And that's a much easier fraction to deal with. You got that? I might even, 8 goes into 8 one time, and 8 goes into 72 9 times. Now that fraction is much easier to convert to a decimal than stuff with all that zeros. So now we take our our 1, and we put it in the doghouse. Does anybody know what this percent is? You should have this one memorized too. Or what decimal it is. What decimal? You should know the decimal for anything over 9. What do you think, Ange?
It's like 1 repeated.
No. Oh, yeah.
Is anything
Right.
over 9 is
It's 1 repeated. It's 0. Anything over 9 is the numerator repeated. Okay? So I got to take it out 3 places. Right? But to convert it to a decimal, a percent, I have to do once, twice. Now, how am I going to write that percent? Ryan? 11 and what? 1/9. I convert it back to the fraction. Percent. Is it an increase or a decrease?
It's an increase.
Okay. All right. Questions? All right. You guys getting it?
Yes.
Do you see the kind of word problems? They mention percent increase. Now, here they're not. Let's see. Oh. Okay, we're going to pause that. Okay. So now we've got $100 bicycles discounted at 20% to a price of $80. Okay, what percent does the new price of $80 need to be increased to go to 100 again? So now, this is very tricky. You may think it's 20%, but it's not. This time we're going from 80 to 100, and so that change is really 20 over 80. Okay, 20 over 80. And before, when it went from 80 to well, I'll compare it with you afterwards. And so as we divide it out, we get 1/4, and it's 25%. And you'll notice that if I compare that, 1 minute. If I compare that to the other one, which was 100 to 80, that's 21 minute. 20 over 100, and that's why it's 20%. Okay? So, as we finish, we move on. So this is a 25% increase. So please make sure you're doing the work there. Basically, the rest is the same. You just got to make sure that you're writing an increase or a decrease. And if you get a negative number, that means it's a decrease. And that's the end of the lesson.